Durud everybody, this is Dr. Al in Australia with another live. Durud. Hi. Welcome. Hi everybody, this is Dr. Al in Australia. Welcome everyone. We're going to have a very, very exciting live today. American accent versus British accent. Tell me which one you like more. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. It's almost 9 p.m. here in Canberra. It's 2:30 p.m. in Tehran and almost 12 noon in London. I'm waiting for Sam to join me with another live, and we're going to have a fun time. American. So, many American, okay, another American accent. English accent or British accent? Hi everyone. I love your Noha. Thank you, I appreciate it. It's 4 a.m. in Vancouver. Noha, Vancouver. British 1, British 2, American. Okay, I'm waiting for Sam, a very, very old friend of mine. He's a native British speaker. American, I contemplate that American is more interesting. I'm waiting for your new video. I hope I can shoot a new video soon. I have some videos. I haven't had the chance to post them yet. How long have you been in Australia? 3 years, 3.5. A native British speaker, yes, it is a bit scary. It's very good for those who are taking the IELTS exam. Okay. Just one more minute. Sam is going to join us soon, hopefully. Hopefully he hasn't forgotten yet. Okay, please leave your questions for later, because this session is just a live program with a British speaker, a native British speaker. میگن صدا ضعیفه. Is it clear? Can you hear me well? Can everyone hear me well? Please show some thumbs up if you can hear me well. I think I'm connected. There's nothing wrong with my voice. Volume is up. I think there's something wrong with your internet connection. Okay, Sam is here. Hey, mate.
A very long time.
How are you, man?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
Ages, really. Literally.
Literally over a decade since we've spoken in person, since I was in Tehran and at your school.
Yeah, I do remember. Thank you very much for your time. I know you're a very, very busy man, and I try to squeeze my program in your tight schedule. So thank you. Without further ado, I will jump into the questions. There are some questions, just a friendly chat. If you are not willing to answer any of them, just say, I will pass, or I'm not willing to answer any of them. Could you tell us, first of all, should I call you Sam or Saam, or what do you like to be called?
I think I remember you asking me that when we met as well the first time many years ago. Yeah. Everybody calls me Sam in England. And in Farsi, everyone calls me Saam. And there are actually a few people that recognize my name has 2 A's in it. And they ask me always. And sometimes they want to say it the authentic way, which is Saam. Personally, when I'm in England and I'm at meetings and I go networking, or I always introduce myself as Sam because it's just easier.
Sam. So I will call you Sam, easier. And tell us, do you consider yourself Iranian or British or Ukrainian? I remember Omish Jalili in one of his stand-up comedies, he said, I'm Ukrainian because from Ukraine, UK and Iran. So do you consider yourself, I think you have been in the UK since you were 1, am I right?
Yeah, exactly. So I've seen that Jalili skit and it is very good. The fact is that I was born in Iran. I was 1 year old when I came to Durham in the northeast of England. So I know England and the UK better than I know Iran. I don't know the areas and the street names of Iran in the way I do in the UK. So when I'm abroad, when I go or when I'm in London, where there are a lot of people from all over the world, and they ask me where am I from, I always say I'm from England. I'm from Durham. But I'm actually married to an Iranian now. She was 18 years old when she moved to the UK. And so when I told her, she was like, "No, Sam, of course you're not. You're from Iran. You're not English." So it just depends. I mean, if I was to have that conversation a little bit in more depth with somebody, I would always say, I'm from England, but my dad is from Iran, my mum's from India, I was born in Iran, I came over here when I was 1 year old, and I explain a little bit of the background because I don't physically look, I lived in Spain for a while, I lived in Hong Kong, and people look at me and they go, you don't look very English. So yeah, there's a little bit of a background story, but I consider myself to be British, but I'm very, very proud of my heritage of being Iranian. I speak Farsi. I don't read and write, but I do speak Farsi as well.
Yeah, very good. Perfect. Yeah. So just to reiterate, because you spoke a bit fast and some of the audience may not be able to follow. So Sam is born in Iran, left Iran at 1. His dad is Iranian, mom is Indian. He's considered Ukrainian, a person from the UK. Tell us a bit about yourself, about your job. What do you do exactly?
Yes. So I've been in property for 20 years, over 20 years, started out in 2001. And I started out as an estate agent, buying, selling, and renting property management of UK real estate, residential real estate. And over the last 20 years, I've become an investor, developer, landlord, and I've also was a founding member of a lending business. So we used to put out development finance to provide the funding for SME property developers and investors across the UK to fund all of their construction projects. And these were for loan sizes between £3 to £20 million predominantly. And over the last 2 years, so Merry Oaks Property Finance is a finance brokerage which I set up, which helps all of the UK investors and developers across the UK with all of their funding requirements, which is debt and equity, a mixture of things like bridging finance and development finance, exit finance, commercial term loans, VAT bridging, buy-to-lets, a whole bunch and variety of solutions that we've got, which are all investor developer focused. So very much in the property real estate space, investment, development, and finance.
Perfect. And the reason I'm having this chat with you, like I've started a tour of, having some live programs with successful Iranians who, we are proud of, and you're one of them. Although you're very, very young, you're very experienced in this, in the business that you have been doing. And today I want to ask you also about your experience, living in many different countries. As you mentioned, you have lived in the UK and UAE, in Spain, in Hong Kong, I believe. So tell us a bit about each country. Which one did you like the best? Why did you move there, in short?
Yeah, good question. I mean, having been growing up in the UK as a foreigner, as somebody from not a native of this country, I was always curious to know what was going on in the rest of the world. My mum being from India, my dad being from Iran, being able to see these places on television. And then, what's the rest of the world like? When I moved to London, which is a very much a cosmopolitan city, I was curious. I met lots of Greek people and Spanish people and people from all over the world. So becoming friends with these people, it always meant that I could go somewhere, meet some friends. They would introduce me to the local culture and the hot spots and places to go. I could maybe crash on their sofa as well. I was a student for first few years. So I ended up living in Spain for a couple of years. That was an interesting experience. And it's still one of my favorite countries. And, it actually, in many ways, it reminds me of Iran in terms of the north and the south, having different weather and different landscape, different kind of dialects, different cuisines from a variety of different places where you come from. It's also got a few cool kind of party islands, or like very nice sunny sunbathy type islands. And I loved it then. It was very good. The economy wasn't great. My Spanish was okay, but it wasn't really, really good. And I think you need to have a very good command of the local language if you're going to create a career in that local area. So that was one of the reasons why I decided to move back to England, being my home country. And then I got the opportunity to go traveling. It was 2008, so just after the world economic crisis, the credit crunch. I took a little bit of time out. That's where I met you, in Iran. I spent 3 months in Iran, and then I spent 3 months in Hong Kong.
It was
intention.
It was like 15 years ago, was it, or more or less? Do you remember
exactly?
Yeah,
it was around 2010.
2010. Oh, good. So you clearly
I think it was
remember.
around then. Yeah. Because it was literally. I remember there was 3. It was very close. I was going to become a school teacher in Iran. I was going to join my mum, and my dad were there. And I was just looking for a break from real estate, actually, because I'd spent so much time working very hard in that market. And then when the credit crunch came, the market changed. A lot of the opportunities that I was used to dried up. So I just wanted to change the scenery. So I spent 3 months there, 3 months in Hong Kong, and I was going to go to Brazil, to the Amazon rainforest. I was going to go and experience more cultures, more languages, more life experience. And then I was going to go to New York and then California and see what was going on stateside, until I actually got stuck in Hong Kong. Those 3 months ended up becoming 5 years. I ended up running businesses out there. And that was an amazing experience, something that I never had in my mind, on my roadmap, that I would ever be able to live in the Far East, where it was such a different culture in many ways, and live a life out there. So that was great. But I was more keen on coming back to the UK, spending more time with my family, getting back into the UK real estate market, which I truly believe has the biggest benefits for both domestic and international investors in terms of real estate market, more so than any other market in the world.
What are the good points and bad points of being in real estate?
The good points. Yeah, absolutely. The good things about being in UK real estate are that it is one of the most reliable long-term asset classes that you can kind of invest in. So you've got cryptos, you've got stocks and shares, you've got forex, you've got a whole bunch of different stuff that you can invest in, equities, etc. Real estate has, over the long term in the UK, proven to be a very, very safe asset class that gives you both long-term capital growth on the asset itself and short-term rental income as well. So short-term income and long-term growth, that's a wonderful asset class. And that's proven over time that it gives you consistent returns. And then also in the north and the south of England, it's very diverse. In the south, you'll get better capital growth. In the north, you'll get better cash flow returns. So and then between the north and the south, it's only 4 hours drive. So it's not like the size of the US or even Iran, or India or something, where it's like almost days apart. Those are the good things. The downsides are that it's very slow. I was always told from the outset that it's a marathon, not a sprint. Things take time. and you need to be very committed over the long term to be able to see these returns. Things are very, very slow. It's not like crypto, it's not like equities where you're going to see quick returns in 12 months, 24-month periods. You need to take a long-term mindset to be able to achieve those sorts of returns. The other drawback is that it's quite capital intensive, so you need to have a lot of money to start, or you need to have, maybe not your own, but you need to have access to money to start. So you can always leverage other people's experience and time and money, but you need to make sure that you've got significant resources if you want to make some significant strides.
One question that is often asked in the IELTS exam, and I know many of my followers are into taking the IELTS, or they are studying for IELTS exam, is do you live in a flat or a house, and which one do you think is better? And I want to hear from a native British speaker the advantages and disadvantages of living in a flat or a house in London particularly, or in the UK.
What a great question. The reason why I laugh is because I have this discussion with my wife constantly. So I love houses. I'm from England. I live in a house all my life pretty much. And the whole, I don't know, it's the upstairs, downstairs, the division of the house itself. And also, I don't know, a sense of security, but being on the first floor, but then also, having a garden space that's your own, some outdoor space that you can go and kick a football around, have a barbecue. It's your own, it's like your own kingdom, it's your own little castle. And I love that. And then you get different types of houses. You get terraced houses, semi-detached houses, detached houses. And if you've got a detached house, it literally is like your own castle. And it's a luxury in many ways. And I love that.
If you can afford it.
If you can afford it. And then again, that's what the beautiful thing about UK is. In the north of England, to get a really nice detached house, it might cost you £300,000, £400,000, which is not a small amount of money. But if you come to the London or the south of England, you're looking well over £1 million in most decent places. So it's a wonderful thing to be able to live in your own land with your own garden and have your kids run around it and all that. These are kind of dreams come true for me. In a flat, typically it's on one floor. It's, you know, like I always think of flats like for people that maybe have a disability or they're a bit older and they like the convenience of having everything on the same level, and that's great. And you know, you've got a lift that for your shopping and everything that takes you to the right floor if that's possible. Not all buildings have lifts, but my wife prefers flats. She lived in Tehran, she lives in the city centre, and generally in highly dense population locations where you've got a dense population, major cities, capital cities, etc., you get a lot of apartments. And if you're living in one of those areas, then yeah, of course, apartment is going to be the best way to go. It's the only way to go in most cases. But for me, I'd rather live a little bit further outside the capital city or the main city centre and live in a nice house with a garden, so the kid can run around. We can play, you know, cricket and tennis and in the back garden, even paddle or anything. Just, you know, having that outdoor space, not just a balcony or a wraparound balcony and these sorts of things. For me, I'm not used to that. I prefer houses all day long.
Perfect answer. And while you were talking about the digital currency and, you know, crypto and stuff, maybe I would like to invite you for another session, because this session we just want to have a bit of chat, but people are interested to know what's going on in the finance market, you know, and the changes. So maybe I would ask you to explain more about that side as well. I watched one of your lives and you were talking about demonizing the landlords. I wanted to ask you what is going on with the property prices. Like in Canada, people are struggling. In Australia, it's the same. Who's to blame? Is it the government? Is it the landlord? Is it the war between Russia and Ukraine? So why the property prices are soaring? Both in terms of rent and I think in terms of like even buying a piece of property.
Sure. I can't speak for what's going on in Canada or Australia, in particular. I can only tell you really what's going on with confidence in the UK. And it's always multi-layered. You know, it's not one particular thing that has the overriding factor. It's more complicated than that. But what I can say is that in the UK we have a supply-demand imbalance, and that's really where it stems from. And the free market will dictate that if you've got a low supply in something and a very high demand, then the price will automatically rise. And that's in the UK exactly what's going on. We've got a population that's doubled over the last 50 years. We're a relatively small space. We're an island with limited space. We've got a lot of greenbelt land, which is land that we preserve for nature and green spaces. So we try not to build on that, and we have very, very strict planning laws. So it's very hard to just increase the supply to keep up with the demand. We've got an aging population, so that people are living longer. There's more birth rate, there's higher birth rate. So with this increase, and then more, since we were in the EU, and we had a lot of influx of asylum seekers and workers from the EU as well, so both inside and outside the EU. So with this population increase and the relatively low supply, and you've got always inflation, it's almost natural that this sort of thing happens, that property prices will go up. But the problem really is where the difference between the income that people are producing and the property prices, when that starts to increase, that gap really starts to cause the pain. And right now, what we're experiencing more so than ever is rental prices going through the roof, because we've got very high inflation. The high inflation has been directly linked to a lot of money being invested into the economy through COVID measures. We had things like Eat Out to help out. We had furlough schemes and loads of other government stimulation to keep the economy going. And then that coupled, so that's demand, supply side of monetary wise, but we also had wars in Ukraine. So we've got supply side of products and energy. That's pushing fuel prices up. So all of these things that are causing inflation, typically rents have always been directly linked to inflation. So when inflation goes up, rents go up with it. And that's why tenants right now are really suffering here in the UK. And because we've got a shortage of housing available to them, then they've got no choice but to pay those higher prices, because they can't go and rent anywhere else that's cheaper. It's take it or leave it. And then just one final nail in the coffin is that over the last 7-8 years in the UK, landlords have typically been demonized because they're making money off a human need, which is shelter, food, and clothing. These are 3 human needs. Obviously, Tommy Hilfiger makes plenty of money, McDonald's makes plenty of money, but when landlords do it, it's something a little bit more politically charged. So
yeah. And probably because the lion's share of your salary is going to rent, especially for tenants. Food and clothes are also important, but when it comes to rent, as soon as you get your salary or a wage or whatever, you have to set aside a good sum of money for the rent. So that's the more noticeable.
Yeah, exactly. And I get it. You can eat at home quite well if you don't necessarily go out and eat out every single day. You don't need to wear Tommy Hilfiger clothes. You can go to a charity shop and get some pretty good, well-costed clothing. But when it comes to living in a particular area, especially if you're a key worker, you're a nurse or you're a teacher, you have to live in that locality to be able to serve the locality. You don't want 50-60% of your wages just going to your rent. So I do get there is, it is a sensitive thing. But at the same time, unfortunately, the government is not going to provide that kind of housing. Every time the government in any country, I've noticed, has tried to provide quality housing, they've usually ended up creating these projects, these ugly buildings, these, build them high, build them cheap, very, very low concern for kind of social mobility and interaction. And they create kind of like these communist blocks effectively, and that's what we've got. We've got these local authority blocks here in the UK that they're just ugly. When you get the private sector doing it, there's a lot more thought that goes into it. There's a lot.
Yeah, I think. Yeah. You were a bit cut off, but that's fine. Yeah, you are there.
Sorry. So they've been demonized because landlords have made a lot of money since the last 20-30 years. People in property have made a lot of money. Over the last 8 years, because of that, they're being taxed more and more and more and more. So with everything in life, there's always a pendulum swing. When things get too much one way, usually something happens to correct that. That's what government's there to do, to correct it. And what's happening now, though, is an overcorrection where landlords are being overly penalised, and that's again having it to the detriment of tenants at the moment, where prices are high. Because
yeah, of course, some tenants put the blame on the real estate agents who start to I mean, when it comes to the rent, some people they blame the real estate agents for that, for that matter. Is that true?
It's harsh. That's harsh. It's not their fault. They're just a victim of circumstance. They don't really have any control over what the price is. The market dictates that, and it's effectively supply and demand. And the government have some control over that, but the more control that they have, it can actually cause more detrimental damage in the long run. So it's a very sensitive topic, but I believe over the long term, it kind of equals itself out. The market finds equilibrium.
Good. This is a question I'm asking all the people I've interviewed with. What are your 3 ingredients to success? If you want to name 3 of the main contributing factors to your success, what would you, name?
First one is passion. I think you have to do what you love. I think if you don't have that, then like any sane person would give up halfway through thinking, I don't enjoy this, why am I doing it? So I think you absolutely have to have that passion. And then I think you have to have the perseverance and persistence where you don't give up, because even if you love something, it's quite easy to get lazy and have a sense of entitlement and just the wrong attitude where you want to give up. You think it should come to you easier, or if it came to somebody else easier, just as much as they love it, you love it, but they might have had a family friend that helped them, or a friend that they met in the pub that helped them, and you didn't have that break, so it's not fair and you give up. So I think you need to have that persistence and perseverance. And the third trait, if you have passion, you have perseverance, I think you have to, what's the third one? Those are, I mean, I work hard basically, but I guess basically, yeah. This is what I've been telling myself a lot actually recently, is the only guarantee for failure is giving up. So
that was my
kind of
next question. Yeah, that was my next question is, have you ever had any failures, or have you ever failed, and how did you react? Yeah,
sure, absolutely. I think if you don't have any failures, you're not trying hard enough. So I think it's part of the road. The road to success, I think, is having failures. If everything's going well, it's hard to learn from life. I think it's only when you have those hardships that you really learn something valuable and form and build your character. So yeah, absolutely. I've lost plenty in my life. Probably not. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I'm sure there's people that have had much harder hardships for sure. So I've lost money on business deals. I've lost money on property transactions. I've got one right now where it hasn't gone quite right for me, and we're probably freehold building in one of the home counties just outside of London. I was trying to get planning permission for 3 units to the back. It didn't happen. After nearly 2 years of trying, I went through 2 applications, speaking to planning consultants and transport officers and the council for 2 years, constantly hammering away at this thing with architects, etc., and going backwards and forwards. And after 2 applications, they still declined it. So I'm going to sell the building for a little bit more than what I bought it for. And over the time, I've spent money on all these professionals, and I won't get that money back. So I think the point is you never lose. You only win or learn.
Good point. And I read somewhere, this is a famous quote, that every failure is a stepping stone to success. So no one has always won, but there are some failures in the path or in the way. My next question is, who had the greatest impact on your success or on your life? Is it yourself, God, or religion, family? wife, because if she's watching, you have to definitely name her.
She's been very, very supportive in my pursuit for a crazy career and the hours that I put in. So she's definitely been helpful. I was very clear that I set out my stall from day one that, I'll be working late, I'll be working long hours, I'll be, traveling the country, going to properties and this, that, and the other from day one. So we'd go out for dinner on a Friday night, and the first thing Saturday morning, I'd be like, right, I'm out of here. I've got to go and, drive an hour and a half down the road to go to this town because I'm going to go and look at a bunch of properties all day. And not very nice properties as well. It's not like I'm going to go and look at kind of mansions and palaces or anything. These are all like really grimy, dirty, ugly properties that hopefully I'm going to bring back to life. So she's been great at that. But if I was to go all the way back, by a long stretch, it'll be my mother and father. They've been a phenomenal.
What about
supporting.
Both of them are gorgeous people. I mean, I know your mom and your dad. They are really, really supportive. And what about luck or destiny? Do you think it plays any role in any job or any business? Because some people say, well, this was my luck, or I was lucky. Some people say, no, you should just, have the, plan or thought about something. But what do you think? What is the role of luck or destiny?
These are very philosophical questions, and I believe you make your own luck. I believe that the harder I work, the luckier I get, or the more phone calls that I make, the luckier I get. So it's kind of a play on words, but I believe that I make my own luck. I show up to these events, I show up to the meetings, no matter how sick or tired I am, I make sure I get up for work, I show up, and that's 90% of the difficulty of actually getting any kind of success, is making sure that you constantly get up and show up and go and in the end, luck is only a formula, which is preparedness plus opportunity. That equals luck usually for me. Destiny, I don't know about destiny. I don't know enough about why we're on this planet and all these things to know whether destiny is a real thing. But talking philosophically, I have been thinking a lot about the concept of infinity. And does infinity exist? Because if it does, it creates a whole set of outcomes and possibilities. And if it doesn't, it creates a different set of outcomes and possibilities. And that the answer to infinity may or may not answer the question of whether destiny is a real thing or not.
Thank you very much. How much time do I have left, as a matter of interest?
I've got all the time in the world for you, considering it's been such a long time.
I wanted to arrange the time. Is it 10 minutes, 15? Because I know you have a lot of meetings to,
15.
attend, or
10, 15.
Maybe 10, 15, that we will wrap it up. Thank you very much. I'm enjoying every answer that you're giving. Now let's leave the philosophical questions, ask a funnier one. This is a question that in some interviews, even in job interviews, they ask here. If you were an animal, what animal you would like to be and why?
That's a really good question. There's a few animals that I like. Oh God, that's a very difficult. If I had to pick one, I think if I had to pick one, I would like to be a bird. I like to fly. I like to be free. I like to soar above and, have the wind in my, I like skiing and stuff. I've never done skydiving, and I wish I want to do it. My wife's very adamant that I won't do it because it's a life and death.
How about bungee jumping?
Bungee jumping. Actually, if I'm going to do bungee jumping, I'm thinking I may as well do skydiving. It's like, what happened to the bungee snaps? What if the parachute doesn't open? You're going to die doing one or the other. And if you're going to die doing one, I think skydiving is the ultimate. Like, literally, it's the closest thing to flying. So bird is great. I do like tigers, and I do think that they're quite cool animals. But yeah, I think a bird of some sort.
Do you have a pet yourself or no?
I have a cat.
Oh.
And a cat I inherited from my girlfriend, now wife. She just had her 7th birthday. It's a mixed breed. She's half Persian cat, half something else. I can't remember the other half because it wasn't important as the fact
What's it? Is it a he or she?
It's a she's called Hannah, with Hana.
Oh, Hannah. Perfect. Good. You have lived in many different countries. Which one did you like? I mean, you said you like Spain more than others, but what about food? Which kind of cuisine or food did you like the best, or where did you try it?
So growing up, my three favorite countries that I've traveled to were Spain, India, and Thailand. And actually, a large part of that is the food. I love Indian food. I love Thai food. Thai food is probably the, well, it's bloody hell. I'm a massive foodie, so is my wife. Thai food is probably up there with my favorite food. I think Iranian and Indian food, because it's kind of the food that I grew up with in the house, it doesn't feel quite as special as the food that you have to go out to because nobody's going to cook that stuff at home. Thai food is, and actually my wife, the first date that we went on was my favorite Thai restaurant in London. Samsar, if anyone's in London, check out Samsar in Aldgate East. It is amazing food. You walk in, the smells and the aroma, it's very much like Thai street food. And then, so Indian food.
Promotion fee.
I should honestly. I honestly, we used to go there all the time. I was so
Where in
great
London
cocktail, great food. Pardon?
London is it?
It's in Aldgate East in East London. Aldgate East. Definitely check it out.
If I come over, I have to go there.
I'm gonna take you there for sure. I'm looking forward to you coming. Just give me the dates. I'll make sure that we go there and many more places because there's so many cool places in London. But I go back there once a year on the 18th of October for my wife and I's kind of anniversary for the first day we met. We've got a few different anniversaries, but that's the main one. And then the place itself is just such an amazing country in terms of the landscape. I mean, it's a very relaxing place, very kind of service orientated. So a really good place to go on holiday, and the people are super peaceful. It's a very cool culture. It's very cost effective. I think I know a lot of Iranians actually, they go to Thailand as well for their holidays and a variety of different islands. I've been to a fair few now. I think I've been there 4 times. I absolutely love it. India, similar, very, very peaceful people, very, very nice culture, very diverse as well, actually, depending on where you go. And you got the tropical kind of places to go and relax, as well as lots of history and culture. So yeah, Spain, India, Thailand.
And what is the strangest food that you have ever had or tried? Or are you into trying new things, or like?
Yeah. Well, so I lived in China or Hong Kong for quite a while. They have chicken feet, which is, I don't personally like it. It's very kind of, it's bony and it's like got gelatin in it. It's not very, I don't know, my wife loves it. All my Chinese friends love it. In Spain, we had pig's ears, orejas. Very, again, a little bit weird. These are just weird things. And then in Thailand, in the street, they give you like, they sell scorpions, like dried, crispy scorpions. So in terms of like weird food, yeah. I mean, I can't say any of them were like delicious. There were certainly experiences. I've had snails in France and frog's legs and that sort of thing as well. So those were interesting.
So you have tried all sorts of unusual foods.
I mean, one of the weird ones is in Iran. They have what is it, mags, like the
brain. And or they call it kalepache.
Exactly.
Kalepache.
And the tongue and everything, zaboon.
In slang, they call it kalapch as the blended one.
Yeah. So.
Do you play any musical instruments, and what kind of music do you like?
Love music. I absolutely love music. It's like that. One of my friends once said, "Music is the dance of emotion," and I truly believe that. It's so I've been into all kinds of music and I like to believe that I like all genres of music, because within those genres, there's always at least 1, 2, or a few songs that that will strike a chord with me. So, but what do I listen to mostly? It depends on my age as well. So when I was pre-18, I would listen to a lot of hip hop music, like American gangster rap and that kind of stuff. And then post-18, a lot more rock and roll, and dance music, electronic dance music. So I used to listen to a lot of that. I even went into a little bit of the production of it all, and started a DJ as well while I was in my time in Hong Kong. So that was a lot of fun. More recently, I'm back into kind of rock and roll, out of the dance, because I don't go night clubbing or anything anymore. I'm kind of settled down, family man, yada yada. So now I have a guitar at home. So now I play guitar. I just learned Wicked Games and a few other, like a Sam Smith tune. My wife and my child doesn't enjoy it because apparently I sound like a drowning cat when I sing. But it gives me a lot of pleasure. I absolutely love it. It's such a relaxing way to spend time, to hear the sound of the strings. So yeah, guitar and just in general music, absolutely love it.
Do you know any Iranian singers? Do you listen to any Iranian singers?
Oh, not yes and no, not really. But I am, obviously, because I've been in and around it my entire life. So when I was in the northeast of England, when I was growing up, they used to hire out a big venue. My dad was kind of one of the organizers amongst some other businessmen, and they used to bring acts over. So they had Ebi, I think. They had Vegan. These are ones that I kind of remember. And then my dad likes Shajarian. I'm not personally a big fan, although I appreciate the gravity, the stature of it all. And then my wife loves Sharam Shapare.
Yeah, he recently he bid farewell to singing. I think he's having the final tour.
Okay.
After 50 years, after 50 years of singing pop songs, I think he's going to retire.
Yeah. So she's a massive fan of his, and she absolutely loves him. Talks about him all the time. But then I don't know Gugu. I mean, I don't really listen to it. I'll be honest with you.
How about
there was a guy?
Foreign singers.
Foreign singers.
Or international singers.
Like who are my favorite? Like bands and stuff.
Yeah. Any favorite singers or bands?
I mean, you know what? So growing up, I used to be a massive Michael Jackson fan, and I think although I think the music's great, I think there's a lot of stuff that's been tarnished with his reputation. So I kind of moved away. I like Prince a lot. I think Prince is great. There's a lot of hip hop stuff. So like Dr. Dre. I like producers like Dr. Dre, Quincy Jones. I started to kind of appreciate the production behind because the singer's great and everything. Like Oasis are fun, but I really like Noel Gallagher because he's the one that's created all the music from scratch, came out of his brain. So I'm more curious about the creation of it all than the actual performance these days and how it all kind of comes together.
What was the last concert you went to?
Last concert was quite a few years ago. My kid's like 2.5 years old, but then a year before that was, she was pregnant, and then the year before that was COVID, and so it feels like a long time ago since I was out. And my brother and my sister used to go to a lot of concerts and carnivals and festivals and stuff, and I never really did. I went to an Eminem concert many moons ago. I was a big Eminem fan. I was a lot into kind of like Snoop Doggy Dogg and all that hip hop stuff. That was a lot of fun. But I don't know, anything rock and roll. I like Muse. They are a good live band. Anyone I like. There's a lot of electronic. Actually, I used to listen to a lot of electronic dance music the previous 10 years. So from like Chemical Brothers and Simon Dunmore and a whole bunch of like DJs.
And could you tell us your favorite top 3 movies or series, or any movies or series that you want to recommend to my audience?
Yeah, so my favorite film is Pulp Fiction, and I like Quentin Tarantino. Anything that he creates is definitely like film worthy. Going to the movies, watching something that's very, very out of this world, but also very closely attached to what could be real life. So it's a very kind of interesting place to be when you're watching it in your mind. TV series. Growing up, I used to be into Friends a lot. I watched like every single episode of Friends a number of different times. I think it's easy to watch. It's a lot of fun. It kind of shows a combination of the importance of closeness between friends and family. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. But more so nowadays, I watch a lot of business programs. So I don't know if you've come across the Dragon's Den or The Apprentice.
Yeah.
These like in America. In American, you got The Apprentice, which is Donald Trump doing it, and then you got Shark Tank equivalent. So I kind of like these types of TV shows because they teach you a lot about the highs and the lows of business, and how not to do it, and how to do it, and how to look at things. And more recently, podcasts. Podcasts are a very, very good way of consuming information and getting access to things that mainstream media and these television networks, wouldn't. Still there?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So Joe Rogan, I listen to a lot of Joe Rogan. There's actually an Iranian guy in America called Patrick Bet David. Have you come across him on Valuetainment?
No.
So Patrick Bet David doesn't sound very Iranian, but I think he's Iranian or Armenian. He left Iran when he was 10 years old, went to Germany for into a refugee camp, and then made his way over to the US. And he built a business up to 150 million US dollars, insurance brokerage. And I've actually been on a call with him and spoken to him once, and he was very, very inspirational for me. So I watch his YouTube channel. So now I don't really watch too much TV. I watch a lot of YouTube channel stuff and podcasts and interviews and that sort of thing. And for films, anything that Quentin Tarantino makes, Christopher Nolan, he's got a new film out which I haven't seen yet, but that's pretty impressive stuff. I like that. I'm into that sort of stuff. Yeah.
My last question is: do you regret anything in life? You're too young.
You know what? Go back to the philosophical stuff. So I just turned 40 last year, and
you look like 40, man.
Thank you. Thank you. I just turned 40. It's been an interesting ride, but I have started to think a lot about these kind of philosophical questions. And this whole, a lot of people say you don't want to have regrets on your deathbed, and then there's songs about no regrets, they only hurt. So it's but I do have a few regrets I don't think it's good to have regrets. I don't think it's helpful, really. But I think it's okay to have them as long as you don't let them consume you. So, for example, if I do not end up doing a skydive, which I probably won't because my wife doesn't really want it. I've got a kid. I don't want to risk my life and my future by having a thrill like that. I feel like it's a bit selfish of me to do that. So, will I regret that on my deathbed that I didn't do it? Maybe a little bit, yeah. But I don't think it's going to be. It's not going to define me, nor is it going to consume me. So it's okay to have some regrets as long as they don't define you or consume you.
Thank you very, very much for your time. I enjoyed every minute of it. If you don't mind, I'm going to ask you one or two Farsi questions because I want the audience to know how well you speak Farsi as well.
Go on. Challenge accepted.
خیلی خیلی ممنون از وقتی که در اختیار ما گذاشتی. خیلی لذت بردم. میگم بعد از فکر کنم سالها همدیگر من دنبال میکنم، همدیگر توی فیسبوک و جای دیگه میبینم موفقیتات و باعث افتخاری. یه سوال آخری که فارسی دوست دارم بپرسم اینه که به جوونا، تو خودت جوونی ولی به جوونا چه توصیه‌ای داری؟ خیلی دوست دارن مثلا از ایران خارج بشن، کشور مثلا انگلیس هم یه مقصدیه که خیلیا دوست دارن بیان، یا حالا کشورهای دیگه. کلا توی کاری که خب توی مصاحبه انگلیسی گفتی که پشتکار خیلی مهمه، پشن یا علاقه خیلی مهمه. چیزای دیگه ای هست بخوای بگی؟ بعضیا که حالا جوان‌ترن، در تین هستن یا مثلا در 20s هستن.
بعد فارسی جواب
فارسی اگه در حدی که بگی بعد نیست، حداقل چک کنیم ببینیم فارسی.
اوکی، تو فارسی نمیدونم لغتش چیه ولی financial literacy. Financial literacy.
دانش مالی.
دانش مالی، همین خیلی مهمه که که من فارسیم خیلی خوب نیست و تمرین نمیکنم زیادی، ولی به نظر من این یک چیزی که خیلی مهمه که مردم بفهمن قدرت پول و این در آوردنش و خرج کردنش و سرمایه‌گذاری خیلی مهمه که بفهمی از سن خیلی کم، که برای اینکه هر موقع این چیزا رو میفهمی میتونی زودتر رشد بکنی و what do they call it بازنشست بشی یا دنبال زندگی I don't know, mind, like expand your mind and free your mind and those sorts of things.
خیلی با مزه فارسی حرف میزنه. اگه میدونستم از اول فارسی باهات صحبت میکردم.
No way. I need to go to some classes.
و از 1 تا 10 به زندگی از life satisfaction چند میدی به خودت؟ اگه مثلا on the scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with your life?
Yeah, 10, 11. I love living. Absolutely love living. Every day is the best day of my life. I always believe that tomorrow is going to be even better than today, and I believe that the best is yet to come.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Really enjoyed chatting with you. I would like to take the opportunity to chat with you again about finance and maybe digital, currencies and stuff. But thank you very much. I know that you're very busy, and it was not a very good time, but because in Iran it's almost 2 p.m. Many people are at work, but I'm going to save this live and post it on my pages, and I will tag you as well, so your followers also can enjoy.
I really appreciate you asking me, and I hope that I do get to see you either in Australia or in the UK.
Sure, yeah. Hope
say hi to the wife and kids as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
See you later. Take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye. Cheers.